During 2021, Canada Bay Council completed the construction of the shared path alongside Byrne Avenue. We thought this would be a good time to ride the path and provide some feedback to Council on what it's like from the perspective of the user. You might even think of this as user acceptance testing, and the points that we're about to discuss as lessons learned from the project. It doesn't matter whether your project management training was done via the Prince2 methodology or the PMBOK, both state that a lessons report has to be created at the end of the project during the closing a project process. The idea of creating this lessons report is that it can be used as an input for future projects. That is, learn from your mistakes and don't make them again. Although it's generally considered that a successful bicycle network must reflect the 5 principles of cohesion, directness, safety, comfort, and attractiveness, today we're mainly going to concentrate on comfort. We're doing that because the Byrne Avenue path is shockingly uncomfortable for a brand new path. It is one of the worst newly built sections of cycling infrastructure in Sydney for 2021. That's an award we'd prefer Council didn't win in 2022. Let's do better next time. You can make a lot of things out of concrete. Our aim is to produce high quality infrastructure rather than, well, other things. How do you judge whether a bike path is any good or not? Well, it's simple. You just hop on a bike and ride along it from one end to the other, and you might even do it back again. You can do that multiple times if you like, but once is generally enough to give you a pretty good idea of how well the path has been built. Unfortunately, the Australian Guide to Road Design Part 6A, Paths for Walking and Cycling, doesn't include a section that covers user acceptance testing. But it has the next best thing on page 84, where it says, I quote, "In order to gain an appreciation of the problems faced by pedestrians and cyclists, it is suggested that maintenance supervisors should walk or ride over the path. This enables a more detailed examination of the surface to be made and defects detected." Given the condition of the Byrne Avenue path, it's pretty clear that this step should be mandatory and conducted before the final contractor payment is approved. That's one lesson for Council. But let's step back for a moment and look at how we reviewed the path comfort level. 2 of us met at Trovatino's and then cycled up to Blackwell Point Road and then around to Byrne Avenue via Campbell Park and Lysart Park. This route was chosen because Blackwell Point Road consists of old, badly weathered concrete slabs and it's not in very good condition. There is an old concrete footpath through Campbell Park and there is a new concrete path through Lysart Park. Riding on these different surfaces beforehand was designed to provide a baseline level of comfort from different types and ages of concrete path construction. That allowed us to kind of compare how the old stuff and the relatively new stuff compared to the brand new stuff. Yeah, what do you think of the ride down Blackwell Point Road, that old bit of concrete?
I thought it was pretty manageable really. There was no great pavement concerns and rolling downhill. We had a bus behind us way back, but that didn't cause a problem because you get enough speed going down the hill.
Yeah, I mean, it's a little bit bumpy in places. It's suffering from age. It's got spalling. It's got some what do you call it? Some lips or steps where the slabs meet, which is expected of something that's 50 or 60 years old. But yeah, it's not too bad. Well, anyway, we'll check out this bit of path here and see how this bit compares.
Yeah, right.
So anyway, how's this bit of path so far?
Well, it's not up to shared.
It's not wide enough.
Yeah, that's right. So, but it's fine so far.
Comfort-wise, I think comfort's the main thing. I mean, the joints aren't too bad.
Well, so far there's a few trees up here, a few casuarinas which may lift the path.
Yeah, well, there's a few chunks missing like that. Yeah, okay, here it's pretty bad. It's an old, low, what would you call that? Well, I mean, it's a footpath, really, not a bike path.
That's right. Yeah. But at a slow speed, it's entirely manageable.
Yeah.
We passed that woman with the pram and the dog. We were going slowly. We just eased past her, no problem at all.
Yeah. So, I mean, again, it's a really old path. I mean, that thing would be, I'm not going to say as old as I am, but pretty damn close. and it hadn't shifted too much. It was reasonably comfortable. Although, you know, had a few cuts through the concrete which hadn't been filled in, but you know, in terms of build quality, you know, it was probably pretty good when it started. Just aged a bit. Right, so we'll go up the road there and then cut into the next section.
This is a reasonably popular route because it avoids a hill going up into Chiswick.
Yeah.
So people use it in both directions. If you're going, say, from Drummoyne towards Abbotsford and Five Dog.
Yeah. So this next bit of path has been here for a while. It's a couple of years old.
Well, that's right. Well, the mystery, Nigel, is why, to me, the mystery to me is that they've put it in this beautiful, high standard, what is it, almost 2.5 metres wide shared use path, and yet the original path that's closer to the water there on Five Dog Bay is still there. So they made the decision, for whatever reason, not to upgrade it. There are trees there, maybe that was the problem. Getting a clear line past the trees. But the quality of this, the ride isn't too bad. There was a bit dippy back there. Did you notice? We went through a little lower section.
But I think it's pretty smooth. Like, I'm not picking up a lot of vibration or undulation from the surface, and the joints are good. There's no ba-bump ba-bump as we're going over the joints. That's fine. So we're on the older section now, and the joints are definitely noisier. I think there's more of a gap. You can feel it. You can hear it. Like, that was a solid bump. That was a bump. That was a bump. That was a bump. That was a bump. 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 Okay, now we're on the old section. Sorry, new section.
Which was built in 2021.
Oh,
gee whiz. Not good, is it?
No, it's like a roller coaster.
Yeah.
And I'm actually jiggling up and down in my seat.
That's right.
It's got a wave formation the whole way along it. It's incredible.
Yeah. My goodness.
That is shocking.
You know, if they hadn't ridden over it as a test as we've just done, they probably wouldn't have realised that, but a visual inspection would indicate, oh yeah, it's generally okay.
Yeah.
But they haven't done the user test, have they?
No. And so we keep on going on this section. So again, this is an old section that some of the slabs have moved slightly. There's a bit of a bump as we go over the joints, and the joints are not as tight as the new sections are. Some of them are spalled a bit with age. There's a little bit of jiggling up and down from time to time, but nothing like that. Yeah, I mean, this is definitely a bit rougher, but
look, and it gives you what you want out of a concrete pavement, and that is, it's pretty sound. You're not getting deformation through use as you do with asphalt. Not getting potholes, etc. So it's pretty good quality park.
Yeah, but that new section, boy oh boy. Look at that, my camera actually is so bumpy. Okay, so I'll just get a bit COVID unsafe, but so yeah, in summary, what do you think?
Yeah, it's problematic. There are certainly too many little dips all the way through. The quality control hasn't been good. It doesn't seem like they've had bike riders in mind when they've built it.
Even though it's a bike path.
That's right. I mean, it's sort of mystifying. It may point to a gap in their specification, certainly in their quality control, or perhaps the contractor hasn't known what they've been doing and hasn't been guided by council staff to make sure that the smoothness is of a certain level, technical level.
Well, I think unless you looked at it really closely, you wouldn't see the undulation. So I'm looking over there, and I can actually see on the edge of the path. If you look very carefully, you can see that it's got this kind of waveform to it. But you wouldn't pick that up just walking along it. Walking along there with those waves, you wouldn't notice. You have to actually have a wheel underneath you to pick up that those dips and rises as it goes along. And look, if I was coming down here signing off the invoice on this, I'd go, it's made out of the right material, it's the right width, it goes from end to end, there's a ramp over there, they've done the revegetation and stuff, it looks good, the line markings are done, the poles are up with signs on them. It ticks all those boxes. On the surface it looks perfectly good. I don't know what the drainage is like. Hopefully it drains into the harbour when it rains and doesn't have puddles forming on it. But this user acceptance testing of a bike path on bikes has, I think, shown it's a fail.
Well, that's right. They're probably looking at the fact that no one's going to trip over on any part of it.
Yeah.
You're going to be able to push your pram along it or whatever, and in theory, ride a bike. It's really the comfort issue.
Yeah.
It's way below what it should be when you're putting the sort of money into it that they have.
Yeah, I know. I see this as a total waste of money. Unfortunately, I'm bitten by something.
Well, let's hope that if we point this out to council, that they'll make sure their specifications in future are right, and that their monitoring of contractor performance is right.
Yeah, there's some good lessons to be learned from this. There definitely is. I mean, that's just basic project management 101. Write this down as a lesson that, firstly, it needs to be properly specified so the contractor knows it's going to be tested at the end by a bike ride, and two, actually come down here and do a bike ride. And as we did, as a reference guide, I guess, is ride some old bits so you get a feel for what good feels like. So when you experience bad, you can go, that's good, that's bad, or mediocre, right. Good and bad, whatever. You've actually got. If you don't actually have some measuring equipment which will pick this up, some kind of electronic doodad, which will, you can go and spend money on getting a consultant to come out here and ride a quad bike over it with goodness knows what to pick that up.
Yeah, that's right.
Or you can go to Target and buy a $500 bike and come down here and do it, for a tenth the price.
I think getting it to the requisite standard of comfort level for bike riders is not hard. I mean, these construction contractors who are used to working in concrete, they can do it. I mean, it's they can do it. They just have to be directed. There has to be in the specification, and they have to be directed to do it to a certain standard by the council staff. And it's a 5-minute conversation.
Yeah.
For the overseeing civil engineering council to tell them what it's for and the quality that it needs to be.
Yeah. I mean, if this was my driveway or my swimming pool or the slab of my house, I wouldn't pay for it. I'd be saying dig that up and start again.
Yeah.
Would you want this under your kitchen? That kind of quality? It's nah.
Yeah, well, now they can start talking to some concrete modifiers, but perhaps to take some grinding wheels over it.
Maybe they need to put an asphalt surface on it. Okay, that'll do. We've also had feedback from 2 other Baybug members who couldn't join us on the day, but have tried out the path in the last couple of months. Here's what they had to say. Mike and I wrote it together, and I have ridden it by myself several times. The new section between the 2 Lysart parks is really rough. It is not a question of the broom finish surface on the concrete. I have no problem with this. It is the long waveform undulations on the path that seem to be about half the distance of the wheelbase of the bike. This means that as you ride over it, you're constantly going up and down mounds, with the back axle in a slight trough and the front axle on a slight rise. It is very annoying. They need to grind out the undulations. I'm sure there is a spec somewhere as to how this should be constructed. A council official should ride over it to experience it themselves. The good news is that Byrne Avenue path isn't suffering from the most common problems of old concrete paths around the inner west, which usually involves spalling of the surface, oversized expansion joints, or the slab sinking in an uneven manner. For example, most of the Cooks River path is now a series of bumps every few metres, with the only difference being how bad each bump has become. Some slabs have shifted so much over the decades that asphalt ramps are required to get you from one slab to the next without smashing a wheel rim to bits or tripping pedestrians over by the dozen. Now, clearly we're cyclists rather than concreting experts. We don't know what type of rebar to use, or how deep the foundation should be, or how to shape the surface to ensure water runs off, or how long the mix will take to cure given the temperature and humidity on the day it was laid, or what strength grade to use, or whether aggregate should be included and how much slump needs to be specified. We just know whether the finished product works or not for cyclists. Fortunately, there are some high-quality concrete paths in the inner west that can be used as reference material for future bike path analysis and testing. The Inner West Council also built a concrete path alongside the Hawthorn Canal last year, and it is a thing of beauty. The great thing about this path is that it starts just off the bay run at Lilyfield Road, so it should be very easy for councillors, council staff or contractors to come around and try it out to experience the level of quality that we should be asking for in future tenders. A bit further afield, Canterbury Bankstown Council put down a new path in Ewan Park on the Cooks River in 2021, and it's like a billiard table. The problem of badly surfaced paths isn't just a Canada Bay problem though. The City of Sydney opened 2 new sections of asphalt path in Pyrmont in 2021. One section is absolutely beautiful, and the other feels like a lightly cobbled road. It's not as bad as this section of cobbles in Glebe, but for a newly built path, it's certainly not up to scratch either. Clearly, contractors need to be told what's expected from a comfort perspective and how comfort will be tested. And that means someone from council is going to have to find a bike that they can utilise for user acceptance testing. So if council uses a formal project management methodology like Prince 2, it shouldn't be too hard for the responsible project manager to add these items to the lessons learned report for Byrne Avenue. Let's not do this again in 2022 or any other year for that matter. I'll just finish with a tip for the mayor. Do not get yourself photographed opening this stretch of path. You'll just make yourself the laughing stock of every cyclist in the region that's ever ridden over it.